Kim Knight here, aka the Kiwi Health Detective, and I'd like to ask you a question. How much do you trust your body to heal if it has become ill? If you have symptoms, whether it's a chronic illness or whether it's just some niggly pain that you haven't yet understood, how much do you trust the infinite wisdom of your body to self-heal? Or do you think that you have to take something from somewhere else or get something from someone else to heal? Do you feel that you need to look externally or maybe put something internally? Or do you believe and know that your body has the ability to self-heal? And when you have an illness or symptoms, do you think your body has made a mistake? Or is it doing exactly what it needs to be doing at that precise moment in time? So first of all, back to this first question, how much do you trust your body to self-heal? So what I've observed is, and this was certainly my own experience growing up, is that most people in our Western society have been brought up to believe that if we have a symptom, so we have some sort of discomfort or we have a chronic illness, the way to deal with it is to take some medication or to take some supplements or maybe to get some part of us cut out. And that, in my opinion, seems to be the default viewpoint in our Western society. And when I was growing up, certainly, you know, whether it was having the flu or shingles or tonsillitis or depression or allergies, asthma, whatever it was that I experienced, my first thought and my only thought was you go to the doctor and you get something, some sort of medication or pill, or if necessary you have some surgery. And that was all I knew until I was about 30 years old. And so that's what I did up until that point, and I never questioned any other way. And then I started to question, because I just thought, you know, that there has to be another way. And so I started to investigate, okay, what other options are there? And that was when I started to discover natural therapies. So whether it was going to an osteopath or acupuncture or Reiki or some sort of natural healing, I started to discover there were other avenues just apart from going to the doctor. And by the way, I'm not saying that any of these are right or wrong. I'm just wanting to expand your possibilities of what is possible in terms of how the body can heal. Because my viewpoint has gone from a very narrow viewpoint to a very wide perspective now, which includes everything. It's not about throwing out the doctor or throwing out the natural therapies. It's about embracing everything and learning that there are many more choices than perhaps we thought were available. But coming back to this, how much do you trust that your body knows exactly what it is doing if it has created symptoms, and therefore it will know what to do to clear those symptoms? Because at some point, in my experience, we have to learn to start trusting this innate wisdom inside of us. And what I've noticed and learned is that if our body is not self-healing, because it is a self-healing mechanism, then there must be something we're doing to prevent that. And that's where we need to put our focus. Rather than just reaching out for a medication or a supplement, which will essentially be treating the end result. And that doesn't mean that that can't help the end result, and it can't help the symptoms, and it can't help to alleviate the symptoms. That is not treating the cause. And I'm all about getting to the root cause, and that means getting to those roots, pulling the roots out so that that weed no longer has to grow. Because when we're doing things like taking medication or supplements, even though it's really, really helpful and sometimes very necessary, what we're doing is we're trimming the leaves. And if we really want to deal with something and clear it for good, we're going to need to pull the roots out. And so what I've learned, this topic of trust is huge. It is a huge topic, and it has been for myself and for every client that I work with. And what I've noticed is that we have lost trust in ourselves, we have lost trust in others, and essentially we've lost trust in life. And together that means that we have lost trust in our body. And we have become disconnected from ourselves. So we've become disconnected from ourselves and from others and from life, or the way I put it in this context is from nature. And by that I mean our own true nature as well as literally nature, because we've become so confined in our ways of living inside these houses, where we've very literally disconnected from nature. And especially if you live in a city and you might only see a tree or a plant every so often, we have become very, very disconnected from nature, and we have forgotten that we are part of nature. We tend to forget that, but a human being is part of nature. So we've become very, very disconnected, and we have forgotten these amazing self-healing abilities that our body has. And partly, not only have we forgotten, but we haven't been taught about them. We haven't been educated as we've been brought up, as I wasn't, that actually your body is the ultimate self-healing machine. And if you get out of your own way and you stop doing what is putting it into a state of dis-ease, if you address this dis-ease, whatever it is, whether it's emotional stuff, mental stuff, your lifestyle, your behaviors, past traumas, whatever it is, if you deal with that, then the body will bring itself back to its natural state of ease and health. And so that is where we need to be, in my opinion, putting our focus if we really want to address a health issue. So I ask you again, do you think your body has made a mistake if it is sending you symptoms, or is it actually doing exactly what it needs to do to communicate some information to you that you haven't heard, and so it's actually had to turn up the volume so much that it is now creating pain? Because in my experience, that is what symptoms are about. They're about your body's way of trying to communicate something to you that it was communicating prior to symptoms at a much more subtler level. And initially it is quite subtle, it's just sort of gut feelings and sensations, and then it will build up to stress and lots of emotional garbage within us, and eventually over a period of time it will become symptoms. So the question is, why and where do we lose this trust? And my take on it is that all this gets set up very early in childhood, and usually by the age of 7. And so what happens is we have certain events which happen to us in our life which create an internal response inside of us, and we will either feel, depending on what happens to us in our life, we'll either feel safe and good, or we'll feel unsafe and not good. And what happens over time is, if we're growing up in a situation or in an environment where we don't feel safe and we don't feel happy, then the very intelligent part of us inside knows what is the truth and it knows what is right for us. But if we're getting a whole load of conflicting information from the outside, and especially from the adults around us who, as far as we're concerned, when we're infants and children, they are gods, and they are responsible for making sure that we literally stay alive by feeding us and clothing us and giving us shelter, and hopefully giving us our emotional needs, such as love and being cherished and all that sort of stuff. But if we're getting this conflicting information from the adults outside of us, and we know inside that something is right, but then we're getting conflicting outside by the person outside saying, no, that's not right, then we start to stop trusting ourselves. And we also lose trust in these other people, because there's a part of us inside that knows that what we're feeling inside at a gut instinctual level is right. And slowly we stop trusting ourselves and we disconnect from ourselves, and there's a mind-body, head-body disconnect, and we start living more and more in our head and rationalizing away, which means rational lies, rationalizing away our gut feelings, and we just come more and more to live in our head, and we get very disconnected from ourselves, from other people, from life, and of course from our body. We get very disconnected from our body, and we stop trusting and listening to our body. So our job, if we have either health issues or unhappiness issues, and they do go hand in hand, then our job is to re-establish that trust. We have to learn to trust again. We have to learn to trust ourselves, to listen to our gut instinct and what our heart is saying to us, because we have these three brains, which is all about multiple brain integration, learning that we actually have three brains, not just the brain in our head. We have to start listening to our heart, listening to our gut, and we have to start trusting ourselves. And that takes practice. And there are many ways of doing that. And as we do that, as we start to reconnect with ourselves and start to trust ourselves again, then we will find that we will start reconnecting with other people and with life, and we will also obviously reconnect with our body and start to listen more to our body and start to trust the infinite wisdom within our body. So it's all about listening. It's about reconnecting. It's about learning to trust again. So I hope this has been a little useful lesson. This is such an important topic. I'm going to be doing a whole video series on it at some point, I hope soon, because it comes up again and again and again. This loss of trust underpins so many of our problems, whether they're psychological or physical. So we have to learn to trust. So I just leave that with you for the moment to ponder on, and look out for some more videos coming soon.